This is a quick demonstration of some of the main tools in Illustrator for creating shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and come over to my main toolbar over here on the left. And if you notice, there are these really subtle lines in between these different sections. So the four at the top are your selection tools. So they're essential because that's how you can select content. And this next set of 8 tools is your primary way of creating content, so building shapes. The pen tool is the most original one for Illustrator. It has been around since Illustrator was invented in the 80s, and it's very powerful. It allows you to draw curves, essentially. So this is a Bezier curve. It's based on math, and it can take a little while to figure out. But you can also use the pen tool for just drawing straight lines. And you can adjust points later on using this white arrow tool, both for adjusting individual points and making them either curved, and then adjusting the curve if you want to. So this is with the white arrow tool. The black arrow tool is your main selection tool. The white arrow selects parts of things. You can also change those curves back to points using this convert property up here in your selection bar. That's one way of creating content. You can easily draw different types of shapes. Once you get good with the pen tool, you can also start drawing in curves as you go. The next tool that you might use is the type tool. That's actually really useful, and we're going to come back to that. The line segment tool as well. Both of those do not create shapes automatically, but you can convert them to shapes, and we'll do that at the end. This ellipse tool is usually what defaults. You may see either the ellipse or the rectangle, but this is a family of tools, and if you hold down, you get you can see all of them that are available. If you click once, you can just enter what size you would like, or especially if you'd like to have for example, a polygon, you can click to choose how many sides you'd like it to have. And then you can also draw with these freehand. For example, you can draw ellipses of all types. If you want to draw perfect circles or perfect squares, and a lot of times those are more pleasing shapes, you can always hold down Shift to do that. So if I'm dragging a large rectangle, if I hold down Shift, it will force it into a perfect circle. Likewise, if I'm doing that with the rectangle tool, if I hold down Shift, it will force it into a perfect square. The Paintbrush tool allows you to do more freehand selections of things. In general, I wouldn't recommend this for icon creation. It's better for more artistic compositions. And one of the tools you don't necessarily want to use is the eraser tool, although there are some cases where that can be beneficial, but I would not rely on it the way you're used to using an eraser tool in, say, Photoshop or MS Paint. It does not work that way because Illustrator uses vectors rather than pixels, and it often gets confusing. So I'd recommend different methods, which I'll show in another video, for how you can erase and manipulate your content. Now this last tool is a fun one. This is called the Shaper tool. And what this does is, it used to be called the pencil tool, now the pencil tool is part of it. But if you draw a bad shape, it will make it a good shape, which is pretty cool. It does basic shapes for the most part, although you can do some more complex ones as long as it can tell what you are going for. And one thing that it does that's kind of interesting is that you can actually erase stuff by drawing squiggles. The shape is actually still there, but you can erase parts of things as well. So let's see. I could do an oval, I'm going to do another circle, and then I can actually scribble on this part in the middle where they overlap, and it will make them combined. I can scribble over other parts. It will make it different colors. This takes a little while to understand, I think, what it is doing, and it's worth playing around with it, I think, to see how it works and get used to the various ways that it does things. This is one, it's a newer tool, and there are other ways of doing all the same functions. It's just kind of a fun one to try out. Now going back to the two others that we missed, the type tool, obviously you can type things. When you draw a text box, it will put in some dummy type. Your text is not automatically going to be a shape, but you can change it to be a shape. You can make it much, much bigger. You can make it any size you want. Let's go ahead and make this really large. If it comes outside of your box, you'll get this little red line. So here we go. If I want to turn this into a shape that I can use in conjunction with other shapes, you can do create outlines. There are other ways to do this as well, but that works. It will be grouped automatically. You can go up to Object, Ungroup to make each letter move individually. And similarly, the line tool draws, obviously, lines, but you can change the stroke up here, you can change the thickness. So for example, if you wanted to have some stripes on your letters here, that's something you could do. There are other ways you might do this, like with a pattern, but this works. And if I want to be able to make all these into cutouts, you know, I can pretend I'm doing that by changing it to white, but that's not really the appropriate way to do it. So instead you can also do the expand here. Let's see, Object, Expand. I'm going to do both the fill and the stroke because those are lines. Now they've turned into rectangles, and now I'll be able to use them in conjunction with other shapes to transform them, erase parts, which I'll demonstrate in the next video.